Good day to you, and today we're going to talk about project management meeting number 5 about planning time and cost. The subject is quite extensive, but I think it will not be too much for you to handle. We have objective of understand the plan structure management, thinking frame for estimating activity resource and duration, development schedule, understand plan cost management, thinking frame for estimating cost, and develop cost performance baseline. We are going to cover the first main subject is the project time management. So we have two main subjects. It is project time and project cost. Project time and project cost is still included in the planning process group. So we're still in this phase. And the knowledge areas that needed in this process group, there are 6 processes in project time management in the knowledge areas. And we're going to cover them a little bit more detail, which is 1, plan schedule management. Where's my pen? Plan schedule management here. Define activities. Each have an output. Let me use the green one. This is what we're going to do. Okay, and this is the output. So if we do plan schedule management, the output is schedule management plan. If we're doing the activity, then we're having activity list, activity attribute, milestone list. If we're doing sequence activities, then we have project schedule network diagram. We're going to cover this later on. If we are doing estimate activity resource, then there's activity resource requirement. If we're doing estimate activity duration, then activity duration estimation document. And in the end, we're developing a schedule with schedule baseline output. On the monitoring and controlling process group, if we do controlling, then we have a control report. Now, let's see. First, plan schedule management. So before we create the schedule itself, we must plan how to create the schedule, because the plan schedule management is establishing the policies, the procedures, and the documentations that needed to wireframe the actual schedule of the project. In this process, there's 4 input, and the output is schedule management plan. The tools and techniques needed is expert judgment, analytical techniques, and doing meetings. Now, the schedule management plan itself is a document that can be used for further planning, detailed planning, developing, managing, executing, and controlling the schedule itself. So, schedule management plan is not the schedule itself, but how we manage the schedule. Okay. Now, I'm going to skip a few slides if I think that you can cover it by yourself. So I am just going to cover the main line only. 2, define the activities. After we have the schedule management plan, then we define what activities needed to create the schedule. So usually the project is quite big, so we cannot create a whole schedule from the beginning until the end. And we are going to chunk out the project into smaller chunks. So it's called decomposing the components into a smaller chunk to provide basis for better estimating, better scheduling, and executing for the project. It requires 4 input, 4 techniques, and 3 outputs. Let's cover some of the inputs. The inputs is schedule management plan itself from the first process, scope baseline, enterprise environmental factor, organizational process assets. And the activity needed is the composition, rolling, wave planning, and expert judgment. The output of this process is we're going to have activity attributes. Who doing what with codes, with description, the predecessor of a process, successor of a process, the relationships between process, dates that have to be imposed to the process, constraints and assumptions. The sequence activity is the third process in scheduling. It is generating project document updates and project schedule network diagram. And this one is quite important because if you ever heard about Gantt chart, if you ever heard about precedence diagramming method, this is the output of this process, the sequence activities. Okay, let's see. This is the first one, precedence diagramming method. Precedence diagramming method is a way to diagram the entities of project so we could schedule it precisely by presenting activities using boxes. Okay, in each boxes there are 6. I repeat, there are 6 components. First component, the ES here, is the earliest start time. EF here is the earliest finish. So above the box itself, it's optimistic. Optimistic. Below the box, we have LS, latest start and latest finish. This is the pessimistic. Right. Okay, here, pessimistic. Why we have to include this? Because we're going to count the minimum time and the maximum time. The box itself represents an activity where we write the activity name. Doesn't need to be detailed, but able to be specific enough so that we know what activity it's doing. And then the activity duration. Example is like this. You can see in the precedence diagramming method example. So we have 5 activity, okay? The start box here, start box, all showing 0. And we have 4 other activities, activity A, activity B, C, and D. The way that we're going to read this is like this. Activity A and B can start. Activity A can have earliest start in 0, earliest finish in 6 days because the duration is 6. Latest start is 0, latest finish is 6 because the duration itself is 6. Activity B can start earliest 0, which means concurrent with activity A. And because the duration is 12, then earliest finish will be 12. Let's just say it's days, okay? 12 days. It can be weeks, it can be months, but usually we're talking about days. Activity B can also start earlier, later start is on the 7th day, which means if it can start on the 7th day with the duration of 12 days, the least finish is the 19th day. 7, 19. The number 7 can be derived from the earlier process. Maybe we conclude that activity B cannot be started without certain resources that cannot be achieved until the 7th day, or other excuses or other obstacles. Okay, now let's see forward. Activity C with the duration of 13 must be done after activity A. I repeat, activity C must be done after activity A. So activity A, because it have earliest finish 6, then activity C can only have earliest start day 6. Activity C itself, because the duration is 13, means that earliest finish is the 19th day. And activity C, least start is the 6th day, because maybe this activity does not have any other obstacles. It can be start after the latest finish from activity A, then it's the same, the 6th day. And then C will have latest finish the 19th day. So for the C activity, we'll have the same earliest start, earliest finish, least start, least finish. Now, this is the conclusion. The conclusion, activity D can only be started if activity B is completed and activity C is completed. Why? You can see that there is an arrow from B and C. Arrow from B and C indicates that activity D can only be started after B and C is finished. Now let's count. If activity D can only be started after B and C, then the earliest start is the earliest finish from either B or C. Let's see, earliest finish of B is 12. Earliest finish of C is 19. Which one is bigger? C. That means activity D can only have earliest start the 19th day. The duration is 5, which means that the earliest finish will be the 24th day. Okay. Now, activity D latest start.
Kali.
Activity
Panggil aja Ko Pendrik. Mau ngambil pempek pesanan papa gitu kayak.
yes.
Cuman Ko Pendrik sama Ko Aling.
Hello, your sound is heard from here. Don't forget to buy kapal selam for me, okay? Let's continue. Activity D is having the least start of the 19th day. Why? Let's see, because the latest finish from B and latest finish from C is the 19th day. If there's a difference between latest finish of B and latest finish of C, we'll take the bigger value. I repeat, the bigger value, such as when we count the earliest start for D using the latest, the bigger value between the earliest finish of B or earliest finish of C. Okay, because this is the same, 19 with the duration of 5, it's 24 also for the latest finish. The conclusion is this project that consists of A, B, C, and D can finish earliest. The earliest time to finish is the 24th day. And the least finish is the 24th day, which means in the optimistic and pessimistic conclusion is the day is the same. It's not always like this. It can be that the earliest finish is faster and the least finish is longer, according to the values of each in the activity boxes. So this is the next example. We can see that we have more activities here until J. We can see that A, B, and C can start almost concurrently. I'll have the same start date. And this is the same representation, only it's using rows inside the tables to determine the earliest start and earliest finish. So in this one, the conclusion is the last activity, the J, can finish in the 22nd day of the June, and the project start in the 1st June, which means about 22 days. Okay, now until this step, do you have any question? Please turn on your microphone so I can hear, or you can raise your hands. If you're using smartphones, I'll stop sharing here. If you're using smartphones, the tab is about here. Okay, and right here. It cannot be read. The first one, there's a raise hand here. Raise hand. Okay, and it will be shown in mine. Anybody have a question?
I have, sir.
Okay.
I see the before apa? What is the rest in apa tadi? Tadi ada kata rest di mana yang penjelasan terakhir. Itu maksudnya apa ya? Yang nggak ada isinya.
Oh, this one. Wait, let me share the screen again. This rest?
Yes, yes.
It means resources. Resources needed.
Oh, resource.
It's like yeah, it's like giving some more, detailed explanation that for starting this process, this activity, we need this kind of resources. So bahasa Indonesianya anggap saja keterangan tambahan, sumber daya apa yang spesifik yang dibutuhkan gitu untuk proses. Okay, good question. Thank you. Anybody else want to ask? Okay, none? So let me proceed. The dependencies determination, the arrows that you see between the process, the activity, sorry, have a meaning also. Like this. Sorry, can you mute your microphone? Yes, thank you. If we have a straight arrow like this, A to B, which means B cannot start until A finish. Okay. If we have activity like this, A and B, A but on the back side into B on the front side means that B cannot start until A starts, which means A starts, then I can start. Finish to finish, the end of the A into the end of the B, which means B cannot finish until A finish. Or start to finish, which means B cannot finish if A does not start. Usually, we are going to have this dependency, the first one, and this, usually. Only occasionally, we are going to have finish to finish and start to finish. Now, the dependency determination, the mandatory dependency inherent in the nature of the work being done, means it must be done, mandatory. Discretional dependency, which means preferential, I would like to have this process finish before the other process, which means it's optional. External dependency means the project activity is dependent on non-project activity, which means, let's say, this activity can only be done if the papers for it, the papers from government or other organization, has already been approved, something like that. Okay, so it's non-project activities, but the project itself is dependent upon it. Now, let's cover about Gantt charts. Gantt chart is the easiest way for us to count the times. After we have the PDM, we can change it to become a Gantt chart method. Lead arrows in acceleration of the successor activity, and a lag directs a delay in the successor activity. Successor is before, successor is after, predecessor is before. Let's say we have 4, 5, 6 activities from A until F, each with its own durations. And some of the activities have predecessors, like this one. C have a predecessor of A, which means C cannot be started until A is finished. So we can create the Gantt chart like this. A have the duration of 3. This is the activity of A. B have duration of 10. This is the activity of B. Okay. Now, this line, this dot line means that C have a predecessor of A. Okay. The earliest start is here, but we can introduce a lag. A lag means we direct a delay in successor activity. We put the activity C behind, like this. Why? Maybe we have an explanation. Maybe we have another activities that being prioritized. Maybe we direct all our resources to B first, or any other else. Now, this means that C starts after the earliest start that can be done, which means this part is the lag. It's called lag, lagging behind. And then after the C have finished, the duration is 6 here. D have a start of B. This is the line. You can see there's a line here. Okay, it doesn't have lag, so it starts directly after B finishes. Its duration is 8, so it's finished here. Duration activity E have predecessor of C and D. C and D, which means we're going to see C and we're going to see D. Which one have the longest finish time? Or not finish time, but the most late times, the latest date. We see that D is the most latest one, so we are going to trail here. Okay, but sometimes part of the activity can be given a lead. It's not shown in the activity E because E starts right after D, but F activity that have a D prerequisite actually have a lead time. This part is the lead time, which means we do some of F activity ahead of time. It usually cannot be much, just a few days, or compared to the duration, it's just a small lead time usually. And it's not in the core of the activities, but sometimes we can do that. Okay, until Gantt chart, do you have any question? Feel free to raise your hand or just turn on your microphone and we can cover it. Go ahead. Any question? Done? Okay. I go on then. I move on. The fourth subject is the estimate activity resource. We're going to use inputs of 8 documents. You can read it on later, and outputs of 3 documents. We're going to use expert judgment, alternative analysis, publish estimating data, and bottom-up estimation for the activity resources. The output is activity resource requirement, resource breakdown structure, and project documents update. The fifth is to estimate the duration by activity list, resource calendar, scope statement, risk register, and so on. We're going to document the project activity duration estimates. This will be the some sort of bigger document that says, hey, I have the projects can be started from this date until this date, and it should not need to be detailed. Okay, this is the formula that is used to estimate the duration. The duration of the project can be counted using program evaluation and review techniques. It's called PERT, or just for simple PERT, okay, PERT. We count the duration by this formula. The formula itself is the optimistic duration, O, plus with 4 times of most likely duration, and pessimistic duration, plus pessimistic duration, divided by 6. So I give you an example. Let's see that from our Gantt chart of, or from our PDM, we're going to have the last activity, let's call Z, with the earliest finish of 20 and latest finish of 30, okay, from PDM. Then we'll just take these numbers. The optimistic value is this, the pessimistic value is this. Now, what is the most likely duration? How do we count the most likely duration? It can be the number between 20 until 30, but this is where expert judgments come in. So this have no real quantitative, not a 100% quantitative number, but a qualitative one. As a project manager, with your experience, with your knowledge, maybe you'll see, okay, maybe it will be finished in about the 24th day. Okay, so using PERT, using PERT, the duration will be 20 plus 4 times 24 plus, this will be okay, plus 30 divided by 6. So we are going to have 20 plus, how much that? 96 plus 30. Okay, divided by 6, or we'll get 146 divided by 6, which leaves us 24 point something. Yeah, 12, 26, 26, 24, 20, 20 means 3, 24.3 something. That's the likely duration using PERT. Do you have any question? Do you have any question? Raise your hand. None? Okay. I'll start to share again. This is the graphic for possible duration using PERTs. So with the optimistic value is here, probability of occurrence is low. It's always low when we're saying optimistic. Hey, the project can be finished in 10 days, but it's very optimistic, so the probability is low. The most likely is in the high. This is used in the CPM calculation. The PERT usually calls here, number between here, this region. and the pessimistic value is taking longer, and the probability is lower again. Okay. So after we using PERT, then we create the activity duration estimate, a number of days or number of months or number of weeks. In the end, number 6 is you develop the schedule. We know the starting dates, we know the end dates, we know the sequences, we know the durations and the constraint. So we create the schedule more detailed, using all the beforehand documents, activity lists, attributes, resources, calendars, maybe red dates, and so on. Okay, and we put it and drive it on a Gantt chart like this. We remember to chunk it, divide it into parts that can be divided. And we have the project calendar. This is one of the main output, project calendar. That's it for the part A. You do have a practice that you need to try yourself. This one, okay, with PDM. And this is the project calendar itself using like Gantt chart. I'll covering some of the main themes of subject planning costs. Planning costs is all about money. There are 3 main processes in the knowledge area of project cost management. You can read the definition by yourself. Usually, the main idea is if we have project costs, we are going to create project budget with estimated and budgeted resources. So we are not going to use more resources than we need to. Okay, and if you're going for a profit organization, a profit project, which means we have to have profit and the profit margin and the cash flow and so on. Okay, this is all name of the variable, just for you to know. So we're not going to cover this too detailedly. The project cost management process, there are 3 main processes, which is the plan cost management itself, the estimating costs, and determine the budget. You can read each process have different inputs, outputs, tools, and techniques. Okay. For estimating cost, the tools and techniques is very, very much. We are not going to cover it detailedly here. And the final output is we're determining the budget. So we're going to have cost performance baseline. We're going to have project funding requirements and project documents update. So this is an example of cost performance baseline. So we're going to use this kind of budget value according to duration. So as you can see, it's very well interconnected with the scheduling. From each scheduling, we can define its details of project costs, and then we can add it up. After we have the schedule, we can add it up and we can count for the cash flow needed to finish the project until it's finished. Okay, this is the cost baseline. Okay, that's it for the 5th meeting. Do you have any question? Please raise your hand.